So let's start with Christian McCaffrey to the Niners. Don't kid yourself. The Rams wanted him, and Kansas City probably looked into him. And the Niners thought, we're not letting our biggest rival in division get him. Sean McVay with McCaffrey, no thank you. And when we meet Andy Reid in the Super Bowl, the last thing we want is for him or Buffalo to have him. That was part of this plan. The Niners gave their brilliant offensive coach another weapon. You notice what the Buffalo Bills in the offseason gave their brilliant defensive coach, another pass rusher. What did Les Snead, the GM of the Rams, do last year with his brilliant offensive coach? Got him OBJ. By the way, the Vikings now lead for OBJ. They have an offensive coach. Pete Carroll gave up a ton for Jamal Adams, a safety on the defensive side. Smart GMs realize this. Every coach has an expertise, a side of the ball, and the smartest GMs give their coaches another weapon on their side. Debo and McCaffrey with Kyle Shanahan, the options, the looks, it's going to be fantastic. Two of the great chess pieces in the NFL with maybe the first smartest offensive coach. But Colin, they gave up 4 picks. Yes, they did. Probably more than I would have preferred to give up. But again, they were keeping away from L.A., Kansas City. Here's the other thing. The Niners are stacked. Their first draft pick was a late second rounder. They believe there's not a single college player they can draft late second round who can start for this team. And they're right, outside of maybe center. Look at their defense. Stars at safety, stars at corner, 2 stars at linebacker, star edge rusher, star defensive lineman. Look at their offense. Wide receiver stacked. Now running back stacked. All-time left tackle. Where the Chargers back in 2007 had a Pro Bowl-infused roster. Marty Schottenheimer, 14-2. They gave up multiple picks because they were weak at safety, and they got Eric Weddle. And their theory was, there's nobody in this draft that can start for us except at safety, and Weddle was the best available safety in their eyes. The Niners are like, what are we giving up? Some depth? We'd rather have a star. I hear this, Colin, he's always hurt. Yes, he is. But he's not a volume player with the 49ers. He's a chess piece. He's an 8-touch, 9-touch-a-game guy. Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell comes back. They've got lots of little pieces, lots of added value for a guy they're not going to ask to touch 20 times a game. You watch Kansas City Buffalo now. It is one play. That's the difference. You watched San Francisco and Kansas City in the Super Bowl. It was one more pass and they win. That's the rarefied air the Niners believe they're in now, the Bills are in now, and the Chiefs are in now. San Francisco's going all in. This is what the Rams did when they got Von Miller and got, OBJ. They go all in. Does it make you vulnerable? Yes, you can be vulnerable. The Rams are now this year because of cluster injuries. You can't predict those. You think the Rams regret it this morning? You think when they look down at that Super Bowl ring, they're like, darn it, wish we had another win this year. It's the price you pay for great. You got to take a big swing. The Warriors take big swings, right? Last year at the trade deadline, wasn't it the Atlanta Braves that took some big swings? Most people that end up hitting it big get out of comfort. Makes you a little uncomfortable. You gave up a lot of draft picks, guys that would not start for this team. And what it's telling you also is something I know is true, and people are fighting this. By basically giving up the 2023 draft, they're telling you, we don't know what the future is with Trey Lance. We don't know how good he is. We don't know what the future is. But we know now we can go to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. They don't make this move unless they believe we can be a Super Bowl team. And since, it's already happened, they think it'll happen again. And the NFC is weaker. Look at this morning. San Francisco's BB gun offense. Think Daniel Jones going to knock you out in the playoffs? The Rams beat up offensive line. Rams struggle with the Niners. You got distracted Tom Brady. Minnesota's good, but Kirk Cousins shrinks in prime time. Philadelphia, I think they're good, but Nick Sirianni, Kyle Shanahan, one game to win. I don't know. I'm going to take Kyle Shanahan with that one. Yes, it's more than most people would be comfortable with, but this was keep away from Andy Reid, the Bills, and McVay. He's not going to be a volume ball carrier. He is going to be a chess piece. And when San Francisco looks at their roster, and it is absolutely stacked, in my opinion, only Buffalo is close. That is it. Kansas City's roster is not this good. They're looking at rarefied air, and they're saying, these games with Kansas City and these games potentially with Buffalo at the end of the year, they're coming down to a play. And we got a guy who can make that play. Like it. Big swing. All right. So that was a fun game last night. I got to be honest with you. That was a fun game last night. Arizona, as we said yesterday, they're just too darn talented not to win a lot of games. I don't know if I trust them situationally. I don't know if I trust their coach. He's not a disaster, but I don't know if I trust him in a big game against the Shanahan or McVay, whatever. But end of the first half, Twitter freaked out because Kyler Murray came over and barked at his head coach, calm the F down. Folks, it's live sports. Actors get 20 takes. Columnists have copy editors. Sports is live. It's one take. It's intense. It's fast. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. It's raw and authentic. You want fake? Then go watch a scripted drama. That's not what this is. And by the way, it's why the only thing anybody watches in America on linear TV is sports. That's all they watch because it's raw and it's uncomfortable. That's what that was. And it's live. And you don't know what's going to happen. And sports has now added, in my lifetime, 25 cameras per event. You see everything. You hear everything. Just recently, everybody's iPhone. You got coaches throwing headsets. You can read lips. Everything's slow-mo. They had a play last night in that Saints-Cardinals game on the sideline. They literally went to like microfilm. They went down the sideline and they're like in, out, and they finally came back from a commercial and they had it down to a blade of grass. I mean, that's the world we live in. So we see and hear everything. Peyton Manning. You didn't see it live, but later on NFL films, yelling and screaming and barking at Jeff Saturday as center. And Tom Brady, now you see it live, screaming and yelling at offensive linemen, and Kyler's barking at his head coach, and I'm okay with it. It's real, it's raw, it's unedited, and it's wonderful, and it's why I love sports. If you can't handle it, turn the channel. Pro sports is not for you. And it's not for everybody. But there's a lot of pressure in Arizona right now. There's pressure on Kyler. There's pressure on the coach. There's pressure on the GM. And here comes DeAndre Hopkins, and you're at home, and you better win this game, or Cliff Kingsbury, the story yesterday, Sean Payton's taking his job. And this is what transpires down in the red zone. It's live, raw, unedited. It's sports. Folks, the Draymond Green punch, what was Steve Kerr's first reaction? Who let the video out? His second reaction, this stuff happens. It's not ideal. You don't root for it. But if you love sports and pro sports, sometimes the player fires back at the coach. I know it doesn't way it works in my hometown high school ball. You never do that to the coach. And you'd never yell at Nick Saban. Kyler Murray's worth $250 million. He gets an opinion too. He's more valuable than the coach. Aaron's more valuable than his coach. Tom's more valuable than Belichick. I love Andy Reid. Mahomes is more valuable. This isn't high school sports. It's not college sports. It's pro sports. These are real people. A lot of pressure to win now, live, score. When I said the Draymond thing wasn't the end of the world, here's what I heard. Well, that's because he works for your podcast network. And now when I defend Kyler Murray, he doesn't work for my podcast network. I support passion. I support intensity. I support MJ and yelling and screaming. And there's a lot of different ways for this stuff to get done. I supported Brady yelling at offensive linemen. You know, leadership comes in a lot of forms. It's not always pretty. This is not high school sports. It's not college sports where the coaches are lunatics and power-hungry guys at the top that are yelling and screaming. These are pro athletes. And there's a lot of money at stake, and there's not much time, and here comes the clock and the crowd and the yelling and ESPN and Fox and guys like me and Skip and Stephen A. and talking and ripping and fire this guy and fire that guy, and you want him to be like, golly gee, coach, what should we do here? It's live. It's raw. I like it. That's why I watch sports and not scripted dramas. Love it. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.